from Quebec. Quebec court decision supports trend towards unrestricted euthanasia. And this is a press release from the Euthanasia Prevention Coalition. So the Quebec Superior Court in Truchon versus Canada, it's a case that was recently decided, rendered as a decision that continues the trend toward unrestricted euthanasia. The court found that the requirement that natural death be reasonably foreseeable, which was what the law said in Quebec, that for people to get medical aid in dying or euthanasia, their death had to be reasonably foreseeable. Well, that requirement is now unconstitutional. So the decision represents a fundamental attack on Canadian values, says the Euthanasia Prevention Coalition. And it's a danger to all people. It is a threat to the lives of all Canadians. So they say that 95% of the countries around the world still outlaw euthanasia. So this is bad news coming out of Quebec. And it will have, as a result, the effect of creating euthanasia on demand in Quebec within the foreseeable future. And the reason is that whereas until very recently, until this decision, euthanasia was for when death was imminent and the person was under a great amount of pain, and so they decided that, well, we'll allow it for these cases in Quebec, we'll allow it for these cases where, death is foreseeable. And now people protested, given the Canadian Supreme Court decision, this recent Canadian Supreme Court decision that allowed euthanasia. They decided to contest the Quebec law, which came before the Supreme Court decision, and said, well, this restriction to foreseeable death is unconstitutional. I am in pain. Even though my death is not foreseeable, I'm still going to live a while. This situation is intolerable, therefore I should be able to kill myself or have the doctor kill me. And now in this decision, Truchon versus Canada, they're going to allow this. So what's to stop anybody else now from saying, I have intolerable pain, whether psychological, physical, or other, and you cannot judge the level of pain that I feel, therefore just give me euthanasia. And so we're going to be having euthanasia on demand anytime now in Canada. And the only way to reverse it, as in the case of abortion, which began with a very restrictive law where you had to go through a panel of doctors and get it approved for medically necessary reasons, that finally got totally destroyed with the Morgentaler decision of 1988, which created abortion on demand. Well, to get abortion gotten rid of, you have to just say, from the moment of conception, we deal with a human being that's innocent, and so putting them to death should be illegal. And in the same way, to get rid of euthanasia, you just have to say, these people are innocent human beings. It cannot be allowed to kill them because that's just what we do as a society, as a civilization. We respect human life from conception to natural death, and it is illicit to kill an innocent human being, period. And that's the only way you can get rid of euthanasia, and that's the only way you can get rid of abortion. It's to just be clear on the parameters. Otherwise, the line, whether you draw it when the person is very sick or when the person is in pain, wherever you draw it, it's arbitrary, and people will get rid of that line and introduce murder on demand, whether at the beginning of life or at the end of life. And pretty soon, any place in between. Our lives will be in danger because we've introduced a government mandate, a government permission to kill human beings. So we've allowed it at the end of life, we've allowed it at the start, and anywhere in the middle if somebody wants to euthanize themselves. In parts of Europe, people have been euthanized for heartbreak, meaning the person is broken up with their boyfriend and she couldn't live with that distress, for eating disorders, for chronic mental health issues, other chronic mental health issues. Euthanasia has been granted on these grounds. So basically, we have euthanasia on demand in the West. And so now, life and death is in the hands of the government, and that's not a good place to be. That's a totalitarian place to be, and we have to fight it.